fresh out the oven.
What is cracking, everybody? It's Megapiemanphd here, and welcome to another Look at My Map video. We are once again back at Payload Race Rush. For King of the Hill Synthetic event, I'm kind of waiting on some assets at this point. So while I'm waiting on stuff over there, I thought, you know what, let's work on Rush some more, so I'm not sitting around doing nothing. So this is Payload Race Rush Beta 14. And we have changes. Notably, there is now a 3D skybox. It's amazing. No longer does the map just end. No, it goes on forever. Well, not really, but it looks like it goes on forever regardless. It's beautiful. I'm really, really happy with this curved road up here. That looks really nice. You can see right here, that's where the map ends and the 3D skybox begins. A little bit of oddness there, but it looks good in context, so it's fine. It's fine. But this road was made using a method posted on tf2maps.net by Blade64, BladeX64, I believe is the guy who did that, or the person who did that. What they did is they used guidelines, basically, set up guide brushes for a curve on each side of the curve, and then you subdivide them and sew them all together, delete the guides on each side, and the middle section is this really nice curve to it. So that's how I went and made this little curve right here. I did that in stage 2 for some curves and stuff. I might have talked about it then. I don't recall, but that's how I went and did this, and I think it looks really, really nice. I'm also using some skyboxified props from ASG Alligator. He took some of the normal props, like that dump truck you see out there, the fence you see out there. I'm pointing to it on my screen, even though you can't see me do that, as well as all of these snow trees, and took them from their normal size and made them times 16 times smaller, which is the size you need for the skybox, because the skybox by default makes everything in it 16 times larger, the 3D skybox. So that way that all of these trees and whatnot are actually a heck of a lot smaller and don't take forever and a day to calculate and don't tank performance, which is something that is very good for this map. But yeah, so I was able to put those trees out in the skybox. Unfortunately, when it comes to skybox detail props, there isn't a whole heck of a lot. Now, the theme of this map is sort of Barn Blitzy, but Barn Blitz's 3D skybox detailing is very specific to Barn Blitz, and very specific to the layout of Barn Blitz and its 3D skybox, so it's not really transferable. So I had to figure out what to do for that, since there isn't a whole lot of snow-themed skybox props. Actually, in reality, there are none! I did find a group of trees, a group of pine trees, that I could put between a snow and non-snow skin, but for some reason, in the map, they didn't have the snow skin. Even though in Hammer, the editor, they had it. I didn't know what was up with that. I couldn't fix it. So I went with the skyboxified props, so there's actually trees and stuff out there. And it looks all nice and dandy. Over here you can see as well, we have our lovely 3D skybox. Yes, it's delicious. And I think I did a pretty decent job with the 3D skybox for this map. I'm not super versed in skyboxes. I haven't spent a ton of time making them. But, you know, the main thing to get with a 3D skybox is just making it look like the map doesn't end, so that you can't really see the split between the map and the skybox. Unfortunately, a lot of maps, when it comes to, or at least in Team Fortress 2, when it comes to 3D skybox detailing, they're pretty sparse and barren on it. A lot of the times, all they use are, at least for the Alpine theme, or any theme that uses pine trees, they use those sky cards you see all the way in the back there that are basically just cutouts of trees. All they have in the 3D skybox is that, and all the other detailing is just out-of-bounds detailing in the main map. I didn't want to do that because I wanted to make this very sort of foresty, and I wanted to have a lot of trees, and all of these trees would have murdered performance, so This is what we got. Speaking of performance, I have done quite a bit to try and make this map not run like crap. It has had some issues when it comes to running like crap, but I have gone back and done a whole optimization pass using hints, skips, checking all my area portals, as well as using function occluders and prop fades, so that things that can't be seen aren't rendered when they can't be seen. The reason why this has been such a problem for the map is because I designed the map like a moron. Mainly, I didn't really design the stages to be optimized. As you can see, if you're standing here, this thing over here is open, so you could see all the way through that. You'll see some of the stuff pop in and out. That's the prop fades going on. But the way that the map is laid out, and the way that Source splits up its areas to decide what can be rendered and what can't be rendered, really messes around with how you have to optimize things. And normally, like a normal TF2 map, this building would go like all the way up to the skybox and completely cut this section from that section. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it look a little bit differently, and so far I think that with the optimization that I did, it works. I'm very afraid that I will have to get a bit more aggressive with the optimization by changing some of the detailing. I've already changed a little bit of it. But I really don't want to have to make this building like go all the way up to the skybox just to block the paths in the sites and the things from rendering. The big issue is when you play the map by yourself, walking around, you don't really have too many issues when it comes to, or at least I don't, with my computer. My computer is not the greatest computer in the world. Don't really have that many issues when it comes to frame rate. But when you get players in a map, that changes, because players don't have LODs or level of detail, from what I understand, and all of their models can be rendered based off of all of the other different all the other different spaces. So, like, if both teams are in mid, then both teams are all rendered at the highest quality they can be at the same time, which takes a big chunk out of performance. And that becomes a really big problem if your map isn't optimized well and you have somebody sitting in the spawn room and a majority of the other team over there in their spawn room, and they're rendering even though this person over here can't see them. That just adds to the, let's call it the optimization budget. That just adds to the overall optimization budget, and things can get expensive really quickly. So I think I've been able to figure some of that stuff out, basically by using aggressive prop fading and aggressive occluders. What occluders do is they completely de-render anything behind them. So I've used a lot of occluders in this map in order for both Stage 1 and Stage 2, in order to keep the design that I have while making it not run like crap. I've also got rid of the rollback zone on these bridges, so Stage 1 no longer has any rollback zones. Previously, these bridges have been a point of contention because they've been a little bit too difficult to fight across, and generally whoever got up here and got to and then across these bridges first was going to win. So I originally got rid of the rollback zone on this ramp to try to make sure that that wouldn't happen, but it was still kind of happening. So now we got rid of the rollback zone here for Beta 14, and we'll see what that does, and hopefully it will actually help somewhat. I am still keeping the stealth respawn time change, so when a cart gets up to this area, it will actually increase so that this is blue team's line, so if blue team gets the cart to here, it will increase blue team's respawn time to 10 seconds, which I don't believe is what it is. I believe it's 8 seconds to start with. It'll change it to 10 seconds. The way respawn times work for Team Fortress 2 is that the respawn time can be anywhere between the respawn time that you set to double that. So the maximum respawn time you can have with this stealth change would be 20 seconds. Previously, I believe I had it set to 15 seconds, which would mean that your respawn would be 30 seconds, which is a little bit much. So I lowered that down a bit. I might need to change things around in the future. We'll see how things play. But yeah, we got rid of rollback zones, so hopefully things won't be quite as bad. I've also been able to figure out how to deal with the weird shadows on these curves by messing around with the light map detail. Every texture and every prop in a map, you can set the light map scale for how lights work on it. And by lowering the light map scale, I was able to get this curve to not have ridiculously crappy shadows. I think on this side, it's still a little off. You can see, like, right here, it's still a bit off, but that's the best I can do. Every brush has a minimal light map scale that it can't go under depending upon its size, so, there's only so much I can do, and that seems to make it look pretty nice. Curves for Source are a bit weird. Source doesn't like them. It likes boxes. It likes straight lines and rectangles and corners and whatnot. 90-degree corners. But I think Hydro has some curved walls that are kind of like this, and they're all shadowy, messed up and whatnot, but I wanted to try to avoid that, so I messed with light maps here. Also, I had to mess with light maps for the 3D skybox to get shadows for props in the skybox to actually show up. For some reason, just by default, the default light map scale for any texture face or any brush face is 16. I had to put it down to like 2 or 3 just to get the trees to have shadows, which is ridiculous, but anyway. Let's move over to Stage 2. Where is Stage 2? Stage 2 is all the way over there. There you see, there's the 3D skybox right there. Stage 1, and completely split from Stage 2, for the sake of optimization, just to make sure that nothing bleeds over from one to the other. But, now that I'm thinking about it, there is some detailing that I had to change because it looked kind of weird. So, there used to be a sort of a silo thing here that went up and had a bridge that went this way, and then in Stage 2 it would have that same prop, but with it connecting to something. I had to get rid of that because I didn't have a way to fake the Stage 2 building that prop would be connected to from Stage 1 after I split the parts in half. Into 2 different sections. So I got rid of that, replaced it with a vent, but I still have it over here. Hopefully they still feel connected, even though there's nothing that really connects them visually or physically together, but as long as they still feel connected. See, this thing, originally this was in Stage 1, and then came over here to this building in Stage 2, but I didn't have a way to fake it. So, you gotta do what you gotta do, and I did what I gotta do in order to try to optimize this. Now, this stage has had more issues with trying to get it optimized with how it's cut up when it's designed, so I had to use more occluders and prop fades. I had to change this to be solid because there's actually an occluder inside there so that you don't notice that it's not rendering the things behind it. And I had to do the same thing over here to try to split this up, because with how this is, when you're standing in red spawn, when you're standing like right here, you can see here, all of this renders because the game decides you can see it. All of this over here renders because the game decides you can see it. But because this renders, and because that renders, the game also thinks that you can see in here, and because you can see in here, the game also thinks you can see over here. So it renders like all of it at once. And the only way to really fix that without trying to get fancy with optimization tactics is to redo the whole thing, and I ain't doing that. So, aggressive occluders have been added to try to stop things from rendering when they're not supposed to, as well as aggressive prop fades. Hopefully it works. If there are any problems where anything that should be showing isn't showing, which is something that happens when you mess with optimization, please let me know in either the comments of this video or on the comments on the tf2maps.net page. I've also changed up the rollback zones here. No longer do these flat sections have rollback zones, so now it goes rollback zone, none, and then rollback zone. I need to fix that. And the same thing up here, rollback zone, none, and then rollback zone. It's all shown up in the the payload HUD. So instead of having 2 big rollbacks, it now has 4 smaller rollbacks. So once you get the cart to here, you're not going to have to worry about it going all the way back. And once you get the cart to here, you're not going to have to worry about it going all the way back. And we'll see how that plays and see how people like that and whether or not that'll stay or if I'll have to change things around a little bit more. Because of how the stages are laid out, I've been stuck having to rely a lot on rollback zones to stop the maps or the stages from, at least a problem way in the beginning of their development, was that one team would just steamroll through there. So I tried to use rollback zones to fix that. And while some of the rollback zones may have fixed it, with all the changes I've made for the map since I originally initiated those rollback zones, they haven't really become as much of a problem and not necessarily as needed. They've mostly just become a nuisance. So, trying to keep some of the rollback zones but minimize their overall impact. There's a fair balance there that we'll have to figure out through testing. But yeah. Something else that I changed is I was asked if I could change the spawn doors to the ones with windows in it so people in spawn can see out there and see if there's anybody trying to camp. Now, I did that with all of the spawn doors, all 4 of them, in the first stage, but I could only do it with 2 of the 4 in the second stage because of this. So, because I have this window here, this door prop is different from this door prop. The way this door prop works is that the door goes up and is hidden by the brush above it. The way this door prop works is that it's animated, because if it went up, you could see it through the window, because it would be in the window. So instead, it plays an animation, and there is not an animated version that has the open window. If this becomes a problem, then of course I can change all of this, remove the window, and make that a door that goes up and is hidden by the brushes, but I don't want to do that if I don't have to, so it is how it is for now. We will see through testing whether or not it's good enough. But there you go. There is Beta 14 for Payload Race Rush. I was debating, once I got the 3D skybox done, of throwing this into RC1 for a release candidate. I actually released a couple RC1 versions for testing, but it proved that the map needs more work, so I put it back in beta for Beta 14. And hopefully, once I get Beta 14 tested and a couple of things fixed, either Beta 15 or maybe Beta 16, I'll be able to actually finally push this into a release candidate and be done with Rush. And then I'll be done 2 maps. I'll have 2 finished maps. The map is close to being done, but it's just not good enough yet. And I don't want to release it until it's as good as I can think to make it. Some people are saying that I should probably get rid of this jump pad. I don't want to get rid of it. I like it. I like jump pads. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. Some people wanted me to change it so that the jump pad didn't cause you to take fall damage, but I'm not going to do that, mainly because the fall damage is how you balance the shortcut for using the jump pad to go right to there. Instead of having to go around this way, or go around this way, you just go right to there. Enough said. So, I want to keep it. I'm not going to get rid of it. There's no reason to not get rid of it. If you don't use it, then don't use it. But I want to keep it, because it makes this area more interesting, and I think it makes the map more unique, and I like them. It doesn't hurt the map. Maybe it doesn't help as much as I would like it to, but it doesn't hurt the map, so there's no point in getting rid of it, so I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been Megapiemanphd for Payload Race Beta 14. You can check it out over on the tf2maps.net download page. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you think it's good, if you think it's bad. If you find any bugs or errors that I should work on, feel free to let me know somewhere on the internet. And I will talk to you guys later!